for this literature review, you have already turned that in last week. You've submitted your assignments. In At the beginning of the week, you will be assigned a peer review. It's not going to give you a notification. It's not going to send you an email. But what you'll have to do is go back to the same place you turned in your assignment. So right now I'm submitting my draft one of my literature review. It's not actually a literature review, but just to give you a look at what this will look like. Hopefully nobody gets this because this is in my test student account. Hopefully nobody gets this. Yes, this is my own work. It's been used many times before in other classes. So you submit that. Then right now nobody else has turned in a peer review, but starting in the beginning of the week, when you come back to the same place you submitted your draft one of your literature review, so go back to week 12 module, see where you turned in your literature review. Over here, as well as submission details and download, you will see a peer reviews. So it says right now assign peer reviews none because nobody else has turned this in. I really hope nobody gets this peer review. I'll have to come back and check and make sure, or maybe I'll just delete this submission. That might work too. But this is where you'll find it. It will give you a paper that you will then click on, and you will be able to download and read a student's paper. So with this, when you are reading this student paper, these are the things I want you to look for. Really look for and give really good comments on the paper overall. So look specifically for the APA formatting. How did they do in their reference list? How did they do in the in-text citations? Did they use quotes when they shouldn't have used quotes? When they used a quote, did they forget the page number? So look for the specific details you've learned about APA. Give them specific feedback. One way to do that, I'm going to pause the video really quickly to show you a Word document. Actually, maybe I'll just download that document. So with that being said, this is one reason why it needs to be a doc format document for the I'll download this and then we can read it really quickly. So I'll open this file. So when you are making comments, again, this is not actually a literature review, it's just an example paper that I submitted. So let's say there was a mistake here, and there actually is a mistake here. This is not how an in-text citation is supposed to go. So I could do this and say, comment. On your different word processing program, on different computers, on different operating systems, it sometimes appears different places, but you could say something like, the in-text citation needs to be at the end of a sentence, right? So give a specific comment like that. Or if this was so this one, for example, another way you could take notes is rather than using that comment, you could use a different color and say this, and I might even use bold just to make it really clear that, hey, this is a note I'm making. This in-text citation needs to be inside the period. You can even make changes. You can say there are things called track changes. They'll be on different places. So here I think it's in editing. I can turn on track changes. I can say record. And then let's say I said something wrong. So I can make a change, positive psychology. Let's say this isn't needed. So I can actually make that change. Oops, not print the screen. I can click delete, and now it has tracked that change. So I've made these changes this way. I can track the changes, I can make a note, I can do this in-text comments. So that's how I want you to make comments on the student's paper. Choose whichever one of these is easier for you. If you've never used track changes, don't worry about it. If you've never used comments, don't worry about it. A really easy way to do this would just be a different color in the paper. So let's say this is confusing. You might say something like, track changes is on, so let me turn that off. I am confused by your points here. Could you clarify the reason X variable is important? So I want you to take notes on their paper. Then you will save this new document. So you'll save the new document. and going back to where you downloaded it, you can upload that. So you'll save your document with your notes, with your edits, with your comments in it. You will save that as a new document and upload it here in the same place you downloaded it. So basically that will allow the student to read your comments. And this is why I want you to make really good comments. So things like, how was the APA format? Did they do the references well? The in-text citations well? Give really specific feedback. What about the tone? Is it professional? Is it objective? Did they forget a massive part? If you got that paper that I was just reviewing, there's a massive amount that's missing from it for a literature review, right? So what do you not understand? What are you confused about? You're going to read this paper in its entirety. You're going to try and understand what they're trying to say. You might even make notes that say, I think at this point you're talking about this. If that's incorrect, then they can make some edits. Does the writing flow well? What is their initial research question, and then are they moving away from it? Have they gone off on a tangent in a section? You can make that kind of comment. Like, from here to here, I don't think you can even make it like a big highlight in it. Say, this section I don't think is really necessary. It goes away from your main research question. Either tie it in better or don't use it. Something like that. Do their conclusions match their evidence? Do you still have questions about, well, how did they come to these conclusions based on the studies they're talking about? And then what are you confused about? So make a lot of notes. So that's why I'm giving you no discussion board this week, because I want you to read these papers with a lot of attention, with a focus on these kind of details. Does it make sense? Does their logic flow? Are you understanding it? And give them good constructive feedback. I really do not want to see, good job on your paper. No, there's always going to be something that can be improved. Anybody's writing, as good as it is, as good as it might get for the points, can be improved. So spelling errors, even grammar errors, all sorts of things, make good comments. Think critically about their paper, and then you will also get your paper back with good critical notes. So use that to boost up your paper, make it a lot better. So again, just with this, to get your assigned peer review, go back to the same place you turned in your literature review. You'll see it over here. Click that. You can download it, make those notes in the document itself in whatever word processing program you have. You can even like add extra pages to make really specific notes. Say, hey, on page 3, paragraph 2, you're talking about this, rather than like in text. You could do it that way as well. So as an example of that, let's say this is after their references. I might say, make my own brand new page and say, I was confused on page 2, paragraph 3, how X variable is different than Y variable. So make that a note, make sure it's clear and they can see these notes. Save this as a new document, then you will upload it to that same place so they can read it. So I will see that you've submitted it as well, but the main thing is that they get back that really good feedback. So do good feedback, hopefully you get back good feedback. That is the peer review assignment. So again, to get to that, it will be in the week 12 material where you turned in the draft 1 of your literature review. This instructions is in week 13, but the actual points in the assignment come from you doing that on the review. So as it is now, it'll open up at the beginning of the week. I think right now it's scheduled for Tuesday. If I use the same video to describe it in future semesters, it may not be Tuesday. But that will be a really good way to give a review to your peers, and also you might get some ideas of how you could describe things better, or see something that they did or how they organize it. That might improve how you think you should do your paper too. So have a good week. I know this was a long intro with talking so much about the peer review, but I wanted to make sure that you did a good job and you gave a lot of good feedback to your peer.